quick bit of background so that you understand where I'm coming from when I talk about all these topics we're going to talk about. As Kevin said, I am a partner, co-founder in a firm. It's our 24th year in business. This is your key right here. I'm supposed to stand that? Oh. Would you rather focus on that than me? This is our 24th year in business, which blows my mind every time I say that out loud. We were teenagers when we started, practically. We started out as a very small design firm doing ads, logos, that sort of thing, and has grown a little bit over the years to be a full-service ad agency. And we do everything you would expect an ad agency to do. Branding, corporate identity, video, full campaigns, media, the entire works. So that's where I'm coming from. Over the years, our firm has done work for everything from mom and pop startup businesses all the way to Fortune 500 companies like Advance Auto and so on, U.S. Food Service. Now we do a lot of work in the tourism space, but over the years we've been involved in all kinds of industries. So it's a pretty varied background. Our work has won probably more awards than I can count on the local, regional, and national level, and that happens, when you're in the advertising business. So having said that about me, that's all I'm going to say about our firm. I just want you to know our perspective. Now we want to talk about things that are probably of interest to you. The topic is about creating the perfect ad. Understanding advertising. Advertising is a creative interpretation of a brand designed to generate a specific response. In order to make your ad perfect, you've got to understand and identify up front, what is that specific response that you're looking for. General awareness is a perfectly adequate answer to that question. In most cases, when it's a small business, startup, that sort of thing, you want more than awareness, you want action. You want somebody to pick up the phone and call you or come to your shop, buy your product. But before you can have the perfect ad, you've got to identify what that specific response is that you're looking for. In my opinion, advertising is kind of a mix between art and science. Designing an ad, understanding typography, and doing cool things with the layout, that's the art part. And we'll touch on that a little bit later, but really the science part is something that you need to understand as well. And the first thing that we can talk about regarding the science is what research has told us. Advertising works, but you have to be patient. You can't just put an ad in a local newspaper or in a magazine or a television spot and wait for the business to come rolling in and wait for the phone to start ringing off the hook. The research shows us what's called a sales funnel. And that's a little bit different for every kind of industry, or, depending on the product you're selling and how much it costs and the decisions involved in making the purchase. But it's essentially something along the lines of, first people need to become aware of your product, then they need to become interested, then they need to talk it over with their family or spouse or whatever, whoever else is involved. Ultimately, they'll maybe do some comparison shopping and ultimately make a decision to make a purchase. It takes a long time, and they need to see your ad multiple times over and over and over again to make their way down that sales funnel. Eventually, the burden goes from your advertising to you. You get them to come into your shop or call you. You've got to push them the rest of the way down the sales funnel. But it's important to understand that it takes some time, and you've got to be patient with your advertising. All right. Another thing that's going to make your ad the perfect ad is you got to put it in the right place. You got to do the right kind of advertising. And there's lots of different ways to reach your audience. There's the usual. There's print media, which is specialized magazines, newspaper, general purpose publications. There's broadcast radio and television. There's online, which is fast growing. And of course, that is very varied. That includes pay-per-click search advertising, which really isn't a designed ad. It just gets your listing, your website to show up at the top of a Google or a Yahoo or a Bing search. but there's also display advertising online, there's online video, there's all kinds of online opportunities. And I thought this was interesting, and I thought this would be really helpful to folks who run small businesses like yourselves. The relative cost to reach 1,000 consumers. And I'm sure you can't read the fine print, and so this might surprise some of you. To reach 1,000 consumers, on average, $32 in a newspaper, $20 in a magazine. These are 2014 stats, by the way, so these have changed a little bit. $8 for radio, $7 for television. Google AdWords, which again is not necessarily a designed ad, but they still call it an ad. $2.75, and then online, like social media, 25 cents on Facebook. So depending on who you need to reach, you need to consider all of those options. You know, if what you're selling is very, very specialized, you can reach a very targeted audience with Google AdWords or through social media. If it's something that the entire world needs, everybody of all age, every household, maybe a newspaper is the way to go. All right, so rule number one, know your audience. Are you targeting the baby boom generation, the older among us, which is a massive generation, or are you targeting millennials? The reason I mention that is they consume their media differently. Again, it goes back to, if you're trying to reach baby boomers, if you're selling, Buicks, maybe social media is not the right place for you, maybe the newspaper is the right place. Or, the AARP magazine, or a specialized magazine. Again, so it's know your audience, and I'm drifting away from my spot here, sorry about that. Are you targeting working moms or Gen X dad? Should you be in Field and Stream magazine, or should you be advertising, in store at a shopping mall? So again, it's understanding all of that, who your audience is. Is it affluent, middle class, or are you targeting absolutely everyone? Just by a show of hands, how many folks in here are small business owners? How many of you are like maybe marketing directors for another? And then, having said all of that about broadcast, social media, television, there's also these other opportunities that are not to be overlooked. Non-traditional things like sponsorships at special events, out-of-home advertising, which is really very broad. Most people think of out-of-home as a billboard that you see on the highway. There's more than that. There's mass transit. There's buses, and a lot of people see those. If you need to advertise to a certain demographic, metro stations, bus signage in cities, in DC, in Richmond, wherever, reach a lot of people. It can be very powerful. And I also mentioned malls. Mall advertising is also very powerful. Theater playbills, that's probably has already occurred to everybody who lives in Abingdon, because you've got the enormous presence of the barter here. Great way to reach an affluent audience. Ball fields. Do you have minor league baseball teams in Bristol or anywhere nearby here? Great way to reach a group of people. Or they must have like infield signage or something down at the raceway. And these are very non-traditional but affordable. And if you're trying to reach a very specific audience like NASCAR fans, what a better way to reach them than to advertise right down there at the speedway. All right, let me just say one word about social media before we move on to other aspects of putting ads together. If I sound like an advocate for social media, it's because I am. We have run campaigns for clients on social media, mostly Facebook. Let's just get that out of the way. They are the 800-pound gorilla in the social media world. Absolutely phenomenal results that we've had. And maybe it's because our clients are in the tourism business and have great products to sell. But compare, you know, the world of Facebook is really a microcosm of the entire internet. And the advertising can be incredibly targeted. You don't have to waste your money with a shotgun blast, which, you know, newspapers are and television advertising is. You can really, really zero in geographically, demographically, by age, by interest. You know, all this controversy that follows Facebook from the very beginning about how much information they know about all of us Facebook users. The reason for that is so that they can deliver advertising that's relevant to you. So you can either be paranoid about that as a Facebook user, or as a marketer, you can take advantage of that. I mean, first person I met when I walked in here is involved with alpacas, right? You can target that interest within a 50-mile radius. I mean, it's phenomenal how targeted you can get. And like the graphic I showed earlier, it is one of the cheapest ways to reach 1,000 people on average. So, I'm not pushing that necessarily above any other media. All I'm saying is don't be afraid. It might be a great way to put a portion of your you probably invest at the Tourism Bureau, you know, in just one of many outlets, but invest in social media. So all I'm saying is don't be afraid of social media. Give it a shot. All right. Let's sort of shift gears a little bit from the whole idea of the best place to put your ad and talk about content. The best advice that anybody can give, no matter what your product is, whether it's a destination or a physical product, shoes, whatever, focus on the benefits and not the features. You know, nobody really cares if the casing of, you know, the shelving that you're selling is made of, you know, a certain gauge, aluminum, or whatever. Tell them how it's going to make their life better. How is it an easier product to use than the competition? And that's not always the instinct that small business owners, founders in particular, have, because they're proud of all those little details. But you got to tell them, you know, how it's going to make their lives better. Remember Walmart used to advertise always low prices? They figured out the difference between talking about features versus benefits. That's the way they used to advertise. And now what they say is save money, live better. Shopping at Walmart is going to make everybody's life better. Right? Well, they figured it out. All right. Appealing to people's emotions. It kind of goes along with the features or benefits over features anyway. But when it's possible, you know, focus on emotions. And emotions are more than just, you know, puppies and kittens and things that make people say, oh, isn't that cute. There's other kinds of things that you can focus on depending on what your product is too. You know, family togetherness, connections, you know, independence. Is having your product going to make somebody, you know, seniors, you know, feel like they're retaining their independence? You know, whatever. Any of those emotions that you can focus on, again, it's really going to help pull people into your ad and make them feel like they might be a connection to your product. About stock photography. When you're appealing to people's emotions, it's certainly more effective to use photography than, say, clip art or a great big starburst that says wow or sail. Photography is powerful, but one or two words of caution about stock photography. Make sure you understand the licensing agreement when you find something online. It can be very inexpensive, but you can get caught if you don't understand the full licensing agreement. It might be that you think, you know, I paid this, I'm going to download it, but it might be that there's another fee in a year, or 6 months, or whatever. And you have to mention, when you're downloading stock photography, frequently you have to mention how it's going to be used. And there's a different fee structure if something is going to be used in a brochure one time versus whether it's going to be used online or in broadcast, and whether it's going to be circulated locally, regionally, or nationally. So don't just think that you can download something once and use it forever, because they track that. There's kind of there's a code, and you can get hit with a bill, by surprise after the term of the license runs out. And the other thing that's kind of important is it's not yours exclusively. And maybe that doesn't matter, but maybe if you're using a photograph to sell, a good time at, an alpaca farm with your family to visit and enjoy the scenery and all that, you may see, in your same market, you may see that exact same photo being used to sell another product. Medication for, toenail fungus or something that you don't really want to be associated with in any way. But just understand that it's not yours exclusively when you use stock photography. All right. Here's something that's tough to pull off, but it's important to give it your best shot. Share your personality, the unique personality of your business. Let your brand's uniqueness come through in whatever way that is. If your business has a certain attitude, a certain cockiness, a certain confidence, that's okay. Let it shine through. The secret here is really not to appeal necessarily to the maximum number of people. It's to appeal to the right people most intensely. So don't worry about if your audience gets the fact that your attitude is cocky or confident or hip or whatever. Don't worry about the other readers of that publication or newspaper that aren't going to get it. The people that you want to come through are going to get it. So stand out. Let your personality and your business's uniqueness come through. And you do that in the style, the design, the use of fonts, the use of colors, whatever. Conversational language in your copy. It's perfectly okay to use contractions. And it's okay to end a sentence with a preposition. Are there any English majors here in the room? In advertising, it is perfectly okay to start a sentence with and, but, or, which, my English teachers all through high school would hate to hear me say that out loud, but it's true. So don't hesitate to do that, especially if it's the personality of your brand, and you know that the people who are reading it are going to be more interested in hearing a conversational style than using proper sentences and big fancy words nobody understands. So advertising copy is a little different than writing an essay. Show a little attitude. Don't worry about being cocky and talk about your product. A call to action. I'm sort of anti-formula when it comes to ads. I do not believe that every ad needs to have headline, subhead, body copy. But one rule that I do suggest you adhere to all the time is always have a call to action. Whatever that may be, depends on what your product is, but always have some sort of call to action. Whether it's act now, register to win a prize, get on our mailing list, sign up for our newsletter, whatever it may be. Call now for a no obligation consultation, come in and see us, whatever the case may be. Make sure you leave them with that final message, and here's what we want you to do. Here's the next step to finding out about our product. I also believe in the principle of less is more. Advertising space is expensive. A full-page ad is very expensive. A lot of small businesses can't afford that. Chances are you're going to be dealing with a quarter of a page or a fairly small newspaper ad. So don't feel the need to say everything about your product and about your business. There's nothing wrong with hitting the highlights and then leave them wanting more. Give them a reason to pick up the phone and call you and say, what did you mean by this? Can you tell me about that guarantee that you mentioned? Can you tell me more about that? Tell me how this works. come into your store if it's a retail store. Make them want to come in and hold the product in their hands. Hit the highlights and leave them wanting more. And again, the more is whatever you want it to be. If it's that you need them to come in your door, make that your call to action. If you want them to hit your website, that's fine too. Make that your call to action. But don't feel the need. Leave some white space in your ad, hit the highlights, and leave them wanting a little bit more. And give them a reason to come in. Now, I didn't try and focus on, and I hope this is okay because it's just so different for everybody, fonts and colors and that sort of thing. I really wanted to share with you some insights about finding the right place, the right media to put your ad for your audience, and some general principles about how to appeal to them, appeal to their emotions, and those sort of things. The only thing that I can say in conclusion is, with those few rules, understand the rules, and then feel free to break them. Because creativity moves the needle. I felt that from the first day that we started our firm 24 years ago. Creativity matters. So the formula of headline, subhead, body copy, if that works for you, that's fine. If the rule is that the color red is a color that generates, that sends up an alert that tells people caution about proceeding, because too much of your ad is red. If that's the rule, that you read online, understand those rules, and then feel free to break them. Be creative. Buy a giant ad and put a couple words right in the middle and leave all that white space. Be creative. If anybody wants, one last slide here, if anybody wants to take a look at and critique or talk about some ads that are out there for Abingdon tourism, not to embarrass my host too much. Our objective, is to sell experiences when we talk about destinations. We can tell people that there in the 50-mile region around us, there's 100 miles of trails, or there's X amount of restaurants to dine in, or X number of whatever to do whatever. That's not what people care about. They want to know, what can I do when I get there? And what's unique about this place that you have here that you don't have anywhere else. And that's how we kind of focused in on this content, about taking a show at the Barter Theater, pedal along the scenic Creeper Trail, enjoy local beer and wine. Those are actions. Those are things you can do. And you can see the photography. That's pretty compelling. Isn't that a beautiful shot? Colorful photography. We didn't feel the need to fill up every square inch of that with, stay at this hotel, eat at this restaurant, exit 17 off. We didn't, they can learn a lot from the website. So, anybody have any questions about any of the topics we've covered? Anything that I might have overlooked that I should have talked about, Kevin?
No, I think people should ask questions. I'm sure you have a lot. They're here to learn more about advertising, and I think David's presentation kind of laid the foundation for what advertising is, but feel free to ask questions about ad design or maybe some of your experiences creating ads that didn't do very well. Here's your opportunity.
Hey Kevin, can you tell us how the town promotes, how they choose what they're going to promote?
Sure. Well, going back to David's presentation, the first thing that we did was research. Most important thing. So we started from the very beginning and laid a foundation by hiring a research company that came in and helped us to develop a visitor profile. And so we did it two ways. One, we had little ballot boxes around town, which helped us to develop a visitor intercept study. So we were able to get email addresses from people that were already in Abingdon, and then we sent them a survey, which gave us information about who they were, where they were from, what their interests were, what the drivers were. So we asked them, specifically what in their pre-planning was the reason they were coming to Abingdon. So if they were a leisure visitor as opposed to a business traveler, we knew that they were coming for our three drivers to town. The research told us were the Barter Theater, of course, the Virginia Creeper Trail, and then our historic downtown district. And so the visitor intercept told us that. We paired it up with an inquiry group, so people that had called the visitor center or went to our website and requested more information, and so we sent them a very similar survey. These are people who have not come yet, but are interested in coming because they've requested information from us, and we followed up with a survey to them saying, did you come to Abingdon? And if they said yes, we asked them very similar questions to the intercept study, and we paired those up and have a very accurate portrayal of who people are that come to Abingdon and where they're coming from, so we know our target markets, where they're coming from, and our target audience, who they are and what makes them tick. So then we hired a graphic design firm to help us to articulate a brand, and so we developed the It's Always Playtime in Abingdon campaign based around our brand, incorporated into our website, our brochure, and our advertising campaign. So like if you see this ad in, say, a lifestyle piece in North Carolina, which is one of our feeder markets, then you go to our website, the logo is the same, the little It's Always Playtime in Abingdon ticket is on our website. So you see the call to action gets them to the website, and then they see that it's all succinct and a part of the brand. And when we were developing this particular campaign, which is based on our leisure traveler, the number one reason that people come to town, of course, is the Barter's Theater, so we start off with that. So it's, in essence, giving people some ideas on how to play in Abingdon. So they go to the Barter Theater for a play, but what else is there for them to do during playtime in Abingdon? And so it had some suggested itineraries with the call to actually come back to the website. And so it's all started with knowing who our target audience is, and then developing the campaign based around that. And that's basically what David was getting at with his
So based on that, how would a retail business in Abingdon, how would they be able to capitalize on what we've already done, what the town's already done?
in terms of cooperative marketing.
Or even just, we're talking about advertising and effective advertising and design and all that, so once the town tourism gets people to town,
Right.
how would the retailer, be able to
Right on the
entice that,
Well, I was gonna say right on the coattails of what you've already done.
or just entice that tourist or that visitor?
Sure, yeah.
My suggestion is to first consider two things. One, is your business primarily tourism-based or is it local-based? And you should know that as a retailer. Are more people walking through your doors and making transactions that are local, and being able to define what that means for you as a business owner. So is it people that live in Abingdon? Is it people that live in Bristol? Is it people that live in Washington County? Is that your local base, and is 75% of your business that local base? If so, I'm not necessarily sure that you need to be advertising in the same locations that we are as a tourism department, because we don't advertise locally unless it's for a special event. And then two, if you determine that you are pretty much primarily tourism based, so 75% are people that are coming through the doors that are outside of, say, an hour drive time, and are tourists and are saying, hey, we're here because we saw the tourism's website and we're here as tourists. Then you have potential to partner with us on a cooperative advertisement campaign, and all you have to do is come visit us at the visitor center. It's not inexpensive, but my suggestion would be that you start with inexpensive opportunities that are available. And by that, Virginia.org, which is the state's tourism website, has free listings available there. We have listings on our website, so if you're not on our website, visit Abingdon.com, visit AbingdonVirginia.com. Let us know, we'll get you up on there as long as you're telling us that you're a tourism-related business. And then there are always opportunities to do some cooperative advertisements with us. It's not inexpensive, but if they feel like our target markets and audiences are similar to your business model, then I think it would make sense to do some cooperative advertising with us.
If a group of, let's say, I know we have the Main Street organization, if a group of retailers design, let's say, rack cars, does the town of Abingdon allow them to place those rack cars within the town's tourism?
We already have that, yes. Certainly, we have two outlets for for information for any business. We're not very particular on whether or not you can prove your business is tourism-related business, because it's a visitor center, and we get more than just tourists that come through our doors. We actually have three opportunities in Abingdon. The visitor center, which is at 335 Cumming Street. We have brochure space, we have table space that we put out. Sort of other businesses that are borderline tourism that provide services to tourists. We also have another visitor center that just opened up at the Creeper Trail at the Finley House. It's more outdoor recreation based, and so there's space there. And then, of course, the Chamber of Commerce right across the street here at the Government Center has a visitor center as well. I think you have to be a member probably to do that. But I would encourage every small business to join the Chamber of Commerce, because they have resources that are available to all businesses to learn more about how to do your business well, and to interact with other businesses that are like-minded. So those are, I think, are the three top opportunities for small businesses to market or advertise.
Okay, now this next question is for Mr. Harris. So if you have a hook, and I'm going to use Nancy as an example because she's got a pretty cool business, it's called the Shady Business, right? And so, the play on words is one thing, but just for example, if you were trying to create a brand, would you always use that, whatever that picture is, whether it's a shade, would you use that in all of your ads so that people recognize that before they even read the print?
Yes. Every business here has a brand, whether you realize it or not. If you've never focused on building the brand and managing it from the ground up as Abingdon Tourism did, regardless, everybody here has a brand. And if it is somewhat formed, like you have a logo, you have a corporate color, a signature look, a signature style, yes, you absolutely have to be consistent. That's a hallmark of a great brand. I mean, I can tell, and all of you can tell, when you get advertising coming across the television or in your mail or shows up via UPS, if you're getting something from Apple, you know it before you even open it. Because they have a signature look, a signature style. That's their brand. Same thing with Target. Within the first 2 seconds of a Target television commercial, you know it's for Target. That's the power of brand. So absolutely, if you've got that developed, be consistent across everything. Your business card, thank you notes that you send out after a sale, your advertising, everything, be consistent. And that's not to say that you can't leave a space in the middle for a campaign message, a weekly or monthly or seasonal message, but frame it in something consistent. I mean, it's kind of like what we've done here. This campaign is very versatile. I mean, and the photos change, the message changes. There are ads out there focused on outdoor recreation, special events coming up, general purpose leisure travel for foodies, all kinds of stuff. But it's all framed in such a way as that it's an Abingdon ad. And that's consistent with the Abingdon Visitor Guide, it's consistent with their website, consistent with everything. So by all means.
So, being a previous small business owner, one of the limitations for small business is the dollars that they have to advertise with. So knowing that's probably the type of group you're talking to today, whether it be a nonprofit organization or whether it be a small business, what do you think a good budget would be, and maybe the variety mix of how to use that budget to be effective for, small town USA?
Wow, That is a really hard question to answer.
I know.
And I tell you, the biggest factor is how broad your audience is. How far do you have to reach to draw in the customers you need to make a go of it? Is it just Abingdon, or do you have to reach down to Bristol, or as far as Roanoke, or, I mean, it all depends on the nature of the business. You know, the smaller the budget is, the more creative you get, you know? I mean, you find ways to reach people the least expensive way. If you only had $500 and you can't get in a magazine, you try the social media option that I mentioned, you know, because it's all you can afford. Or you'll find a way to print flyers and, you know, circulate them, you know, yourself. You'll have your kids circulating them around town. You know, you get creative when you don't have any money. So I hope I didn't dodge that question, but it's a really
But what about customer incentives?
Customer incentives. Yeah, again, it kind of varies with the brand and the reputation you're trying to develop for your shop. But in general, I will say customer loyalty programs are very effective. Very effective. Incentives vary by industry.
I would hop onto what Dave's saying there. I think that's key. It's so much easier to keep a loyal customer than it is to get a new customer. And to get a new customer, you do that primarily through marketing, whether that's word of mouth, your current customer telling their friends and peers, or through some type of an advertising campaign. So customer service is a form of advertising. It's you doing a spectacular job in highlighting your brand and reinforcing that brand and using that that great customer experience and getting that customer to tell other people through word of mouth. And I look at social media as that as well. I don't see a lot of businesses out there taking advantage of not necessarily Facebook, but TripAdvisor, where if you know that you have a great business and you're doing great customer service and you're selling a great product, you need to be on TripAdvisor, because not just people vacationing use that, but locals as well, to critique your service style, your product base. And so to have a simple sign that says, hey, talk about us on TripAdvisor, you'd be surprised on how great a tool that is at zero or little cost. Social media like Facebook, although it's inexpensive, it also costs time, and time is money. So if you're small businesses, sole proprietor, 2 people working for you, you have to find the time to get on social media, because that message needs to be out there continually. It's not like you can post once in a month and expect results from that, or run a campaign and not be able to respond to people responding to that campaign. So you have to invest the time into doing that. It's very, very, very like shooting with a sniper rifle. It's precise. You can pick exactly who you want to target. You also have to be able to find the time to follow up with that marketing message. So even though it's inexpensive, time is money, and you have to be able to devote that. So from a very small business perspective, I would look at social, not just Facebook, but TripAdvisor, and try to get more people to talk about your product, to, in a way, reward your customer base in some fashion. And then the other thing that Dave brought up is promotions, which are not necessarily advertising, but one of the things that I thought was very astute that one of the businesses in town did, and I'll just mention the business name, Baby Cakes. When we first started having our music events down at the farmer's market, were showing up with little cupcakes, and little promos like that, where you see, okay, there's a group of people who might be interested in my business. How do you get in front of that market? Look at that as an opportunity that's fairly inexpensive. Sarah?
And I would sort of piggyback off of that and ask you, as someone who's going out to get sponsorships like that for events, what kind of recommendations would you give to a business who wants to advertise in that way? Like, what's the most effective way for a sponsor to get their marketing message out?
Well, again, it all depends on the kind of business and their clientele and the event that they're talking about becoming a sponsor of.
Right.
Negotiate, you know? I mean, there's simply, you know, let's say one of your music festivals has half a dozen sponsors, and they all get their logo on the poster and the advertising and the banner that goes across the street. If you've got a creative way, like, you know, you can supply, you know, ball caps, you know, whatever. I mean, negotiate your sponsorship, make it work for both.
What about, joint promotion with other small businesses? Do you see that as should it be like businesses, or should it be, you know, cross promotion?
Hey, I love that idea. Yeah, I mean, be creative, you know? I mean, why can't a restaurant that does not have a dessert, you know, strength, you know, partner with Baby Cakes? Or, you know, a dinner and a theater, or, I mean, whatever. Yeah, be creative. I love those.
Yeah, I think clusters of product businesses working together to buy down advertising makes a lot of sense. You have to get over that fear of competition, but if you're similar cluster in terms of what product you're offering, it would make sense to, in terms of it, you know, you're trying to market to outside of your local business clients. So I don't think it makes sense if similar businesses are clustering together to advertise in market because the competition there. But if you're going after a totally different or new market, it seems to make a lot of sense that you as businesses, so 3 or 4 home decor businesses get together, buy an advertising campaign outside, a little bit outside of the norm, maybe in Bristol or in Kingsport or Johnson City, saying, hey, come to Abingdon for a half a day because we have this cluster of home decor stores that you can't get into in your region. That, in my mind, makes a lot of sense. And then back to the sponsorship thing, it goes back to one of your first slides, which was talking about who you're trying to focus on in terms of a market. And if you're trying to reach everybody, then sponsorship sometimes makes sense. But if you're trying to reach somebody niche, like people who are going to events, you need to figure out, you need to communicate with whom you're going to be purchasing the sponsorship from to ask them who they're expecting to come to the event. So if it's, you know, bikers and a biker event and the bikers are not your target market, you shouldn't be spending your precious dollars on a sponsorship opportunity like that, unless you're just trying to blanket and get everybody. But most of the time we don't have a lot of dollars to spend, so gotta be wary about that. Yes?
I've always heard that when you run an ad similar to the 2 you have up there, that you should have some way of measuring its effectiveness.
So we do, we have different, you can't see it at the bottom of the ad, but there's an 800 number on there, and I think we have a dozen different 800 numbers, and so we track the call-ins. We also place, we're very specific about where we're placing our advertising campaigns. So our drive market is like Boone, Blowing Rock, Asheville in North Carolina, in Charlotte, and so I go back, and so the next class is going to be about website, search engine optimization, but also about Google Analytics. And if you come to the next one, I'll show you how I pair up where our advertising campaigns are with the traffic that we're generating at our website to make sure, because we're able to see what cities within each state people are coming to the website from, so we're able to track that. And then you could also buy different URL addresses. They're fairly inexpensive, and switch them up. But again, that goes back to the time issue. You know, how much time do you have to go back in and track all of that to look at results?
Some are easier to track than others. You know, some magazines will have reader service cards, like for more information. Just send the card back in, and then they send leads. The magazine sends the leads to you. Television is a more difficult one to measure. Radio is a pretty difficult one to measure. But certainly any of the online is the easiest. You can tell where those clicks are coming from.
I want to ask a question back to the Facebook thing. Like when you take an ad out and it, you know, you target your market, you do all that, You said something about responding to the people who respond to that ad or the post that you put up. What are you supposed to do if they just like it? Or, you know, if they make a comment, is the proper thing, I really don't know about this part.
No?
Or is the proper thing to go in there and say, thank you so much, or you should come in the store, or is
Yeah,
that
no,
what you
that's
meant by that?
That's a great question. What I was talking about earlier here was Facebook advertising, paid advertising,
Mhm.
to get you a message, you know, little, like 1-inch wide ads that run down the right-hand side. Sometimes they show up in your main feed, it'll say sponsored, it's a paid ad. And that ad can say or ask for anything you want. It might direct them to your website, it might direct them to your Facebook page to build up your likes, whichever. That's what has a cost to it. Any other kind of interaction, once you've got a significant fan base, anytime you post anything, there's automatically a larger pool of people who are going to see it because you've built up your audience. Now, how to interact with them? You know, I mean, that is really dependent upon, you know, the personality, the brand that you have. If somebody just likes something, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're interacting. I mean, you've kept your business top of mind to that person just by engaging them once a week or twice a week. You don't have to, but if somebody asks a question or comments, you should absolutely comment back.
Okay.
Even if they compliment you, say thank you. If they criticize you, I mean, you could take that as the admin of that page, you could delete that. Or you could be sort of proactive about that and say, I'm sorry your experience wasn't up to our usual standards. We hope you'll come back again and we'll do better the next time. Or, you know, respond to it, turn it into something positive. So.
And often you'll see your followers respond to the negative comment, and that's the easiest way to take care of that, where we don't delete anybody because of First Amendment rights, but as local government, but we'll let people who are our followers say, well, obviously you haven't been to Abingdon in a long time because it's a great city. You know, you'll see that kind of interaction. But I think what I was talking about in terms of reacting and responding to social media advertisement is that you have to be able to watch, you have to go back and look at your insights, they're called, for Facebook in particular, to see if your advertising is working. So if you're not seeing new likes or whatever you wanted out of the ad campaign, some of them you set up and you want just people to like your Facebook page because you want to grow the number of people that are following your social media outlets. Other ways are you're sending people from your ad to a website and you want them to click through to that, or you want them to make some type of a transaction or sign up for a sweepstakes. You have to go in and spend time watching that to make sure that the campaign's working, and readjust, because I mean, you can't just turn it on and let it run and sell. I mean, you can, but if it's not working for you, you just wasted your time, money, and energy. So you have to go back in continually and watch that campaign to make sure and react to whether or not it's working.
Well, when I've done ads before, maybe I didn't understand about that. I mean, it'll say, so many people, you know, looked at this week or liked it. Does it say anything else? Does it tell you where they're coming from?
There's a lot of insights that you can gain from that.
Oh, really?
Next week's class, I'm going to talk about search engine optimization for your website.
Okay.
And run you through a back end of Google Analytics, and then I'm going to pull up Facebook and talk about insights as well.
Okay, great.
Back on what she was saying about responding, I know I'm on TripAdvisor and Facebook, and I try to respond within 24 hours.
Yeah.
If somebody gives me with a positive or negative comment on TripAdvisor, within 24 hours I try and give them a response, either from my phone or from my computer.
Yeah.
So far, I don't
It's
think I've
work.
had a negative response that
I haven't got a
worried
negative one
about,
yet.
but, I mean, I didn't realize that it was etiquette to go in there and respond to comments.
It depends on a comment, you know. If, for example, back to the tourism world, I mean, somebody posts a beautiful photo of a sunset, You know, lots of people are gonna like it, lots of people are gonna just comment, wow, that's beautiful, I love that area, I can't wait to get back there, something like that. That's not something that needs a response. But if somebody says,
Where
wow,
did you
where
take
was
the
that
picture,
taken?
right?
Yeah.
Or how much does that lamp cost?
Yes,
Oh, well, then, if I, you know, my problem is I don't look at Facebook all day long, so
right.
when I go back, if I see the comment, then I go in and I respond, but
Right. And that's the cost analysis, how much time on top of the ad buy
Yeah.
you want to spend finessing that ad, corresponding with people that it starts the conversation with. So now you have two storefronts,
Yeah.
one on social media, one, go ahead, you don't want to ask your question.
Well, I have two questions,
Okay.
and one will probably help her as well. I've read a lot of different articles on being successful marketing on Facebook, but everyone seems to have different opinions as far as how that goes. Maybe you give a general set of rules to your clients on how often to post and things like that. And then also, I find out a lot of people in small businesses, maybe they don't have the skills to do an attractive ad, and sometimes you're seeing stuff out there that you're kind of cringing at. Are there resources to help those small businesses create something that looks a little bit more professional rather than if they don't have money to spend on a large firm like yours?
Yeah, well, let me take the second one first. I didn't want this to be self-serving. I mean, and nowhere in my presentation did I say, by God, you absolutely have to hire a professional to do your ad. Because I didn't want to come across as self-serving. And again, it really depends on what your brand is and you know, what sort of talent you have at your fingertips, you know, your staff, your relatives, or whatever. You know, there are freelance designers out there. There are people who cost a third of what my firm costs. You know, and their experience level is a third of what my full team's level is. So they're out there. I mean, I don't know the Abingdon freelance market very well, but they're out there, and it's up to you. I mean, if you've got some talent among your own staff or family who can, design a nice ad, and you're on a shoestring budget, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to come across as snobbish on that. But I sometimes look at especially travel magazines, and I think I can tell the ads that were produced in-house by somebody who is just, they were asking you to make this ad, and and they're using the wrong fonts, and the margins are terrible, and it's got the right message, it's got a photo, but I can tell which ones are designed in-house. I can tell which ones are designed by somebody who's got some design talent, but maybe doesn't know tourism. And then the next level is somebody who has all of that and understands tourism.
So, as
And
far as,
I would add on top of that, in terms of resources for people with limited budgets, that first of all, don't be afraid to call a graphic design firm like David's and ask them about pricing or ask them about who they've worked with in the past, just to get a concept of really, maybe it is not too expensive compared to what you want to invest in your brand. But other opportunities, many of the magazines will, or even newspaper and television will produce ads for you. They're fairly generic. We've all seen the television commercials around here, like Window World. Just saying that. So you get what you pay for is usually the answer to that. But that's an opportunity for people that don't have a lot of money. And then the other opportunity that comes up every once in a while, there's the American Ad Federation, and even I think Virginia Tech, their graphic design company, or their graphic design school will do like a day where they'll accept nonprofit organizations who don't have any money and will help them design a brand, a logo, and all of that. So those opportunities are out there. You have to find them, but there are opportunities like that as well. So that's my advice.
and I'm going
No
to
money.
interject just a little bit as far as small business is concerned. Even though in larger cities and the statistics say that people don't read the newspaper or get the newspaper like they used to, the newspapers have gotten very creative, and like, for instance, the Bristol Herald has work at Tri-Cities. And so, you can get And that thing, you know, they send an email out to everybody that's signed up to them, and it just tells them all about what the business sector is doing or whatever, but that ad is right there, and it's a digital ad, it's there every day, no matter who clicks on it, and so, you know, I know we are a social media and technology-based world these days, but I can tell you that if your market is the baby boomers, they still want a newspaper to read first thing in the morning, and they want to look at the crossword puzzles. So again, it all has to do with who your market is. If your market's millennials, it's probably not going to work for you, but, you know, there's a whole lot of baby boomers still out there that are, you know, buying those print ads, and they're effective for them. And, you know, I'm an example of that. I put the incubator on Work at Tri-Cities. Well, we got a huge response from that. You know, and Deborah could maybe tell you the numbers, but we had this high percentage of people that viewed it and then clicked through to our website. So it just depends, again, it goes back to who your market is and what you're trying to reach.
Right. My father does not have a computer, a tablet, or a smartphone.
Right,
But he reads 2 newspapers every day.
that's right.
My dad reads 4.
That's what I'm saying, you know,
One thing I would like to add, I'm with the newspaper, is that the newspaper here is still very, very strong. And we have all the community papers around the area, you know, from Bristol, Tennessee, all the way up through with Fulton Ridgelands News, the Clinch Valley, Smith County. It's still very, very strong. But we also have all the digital services available too, where we can do the Google search, the Google AdWords, for the small businesses or for the businesses who don't have the time because they don't have enough employees, but they want to be able to get that.
Right.
And they're all at affordable prices. Our sponsorship on our emails, which are really high. We have all kinds of different newsletters that go out, and people sign up for those individually. You just don't get the paper, and suddenly you get this onslaught of newsletters that comes out. And they're done specifically for people who have small businesses in an area. And the Virginia Incubators has gotten incredible results from it. Their click-through rates have averaged, the national average is 0.8%. Theirs has averaged anywhere from 0.24% to 0.36%. But it's on the right newsletter, and it's going out to the right people who are interested in what's going on in business.
and the reason I'm advertising for them is not because Deborah's here, but they designed the ad, which saved me, the incubator, a whole lot of money. So not only did they put the ad out there, but I gave them the information, and we conversed back and forth until I liked what they designed. So I didn't have to pay for design.
So my offer to you all, if you're designing ads and you want somebody to proof the ad, we would be glad to do it at the Convention and Visitors Bureau and just give you some helpful advice. Take it for what it's worth, but we'd be glad. We have our own campaign. We think it's very successful, and we have some knowledge in marketing and advertising. We'd be glad to take a look at your campaign and give you some advice about it.
Can I just say something real quick? As someone who's owned a small business before, I always spent my money on getting a good logo first, like a good branding. Like I would pay someone to do that because I'm terrible at that kind of thing. And then paying for pictures. And I think once you have those 2 elements, it's a lot easier to put together your own ad if you have any sense that way. But I can't design at all, and I'm not good at taking pictures. But I found those were cheap ways to, spend $300 and then have some material you could use over and over again.
Yep, good advice.
I want to ask a question that's kind of related to this and kind of not. I'm going to be doing a big Christmas market here, Christmas home market. And they pipe and drape the whole place, and they use red and white panels, and they're 3 foot, and they alternate them everywhere, which makes for a very busy, although holiday cheerful look. I sell lamps. I make custom lamps, and I also sell lampshades, and I also repair, but I also have gifts. I have a lot of things in a little small space. I thought it might be a good idea to get a backdrop to hang. that would separate me from the red and white and tell a little more about me. And the girl who's gonna do it, who makes those car wraps and things like that, she wants me to put a picture with the logo and the words, and I'm not sure. To me, the simpler the better. It just is gonna be classier looking and it'll just be cleaner and not too much to look at. You're gonna have all this product around the table anyway. When this is over with, if I could show you this, would you give me a quick opinion on this?
Sure.
I would appreciate that very much.
Certainly, I know nothing about your business, your niche, your showroom, what it looks like. I say go with your instinct.
Yeah, she wants me to put a picture of the shop because it's really neat when you walk in the shop. It's really different. And there's all the lights and the chandeliers, it's like twinkly. Everything is twinkly. But I think that's gonna be lost in place. You know, when you walk in the store, it's one thing, but when you're looking at an ad, you know, you can't capture all of Abingdon on that. All you can do is capture something that might appear to one person. That's why your pictures are gonna change all the time.
Right.
You know,
Be glad to look at it.
thank you.
Mhm. All right.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Now, before we end, I want to tell everybody about something that I think is a great opportunity for small business, and that is this Google, search engine optimization that is gonna be going on here at the incubator on October the 15th at 6 o'clock. Is it 6 o'clock? Anyway, if you have a website, you absolutely should try to attend this class because being able to pop up on Google as a business is very important to keeping your business name out there. So that's going to be on October 15th. What's October 14th? Excuse me, just a minute, ladies. Could y'all let me finish? Thank you. On October the 14th, on
Search
Wednesday,
Search engine.
Search engine optimization.
is search engine optimization also. So on Wednesday, we're gonna start it, but on Thursday, you bring your laptop. We have computers in a computer lab. Search engine optimization, if you have a website, you absolutely will not be doing yourself a favor if you miss that class. So thank you very much. What time is that? The October 14th is here at noon. And October 15th is at 6 o'clock.
5:30.
5:30, I'm sorry, 5:30 here.
Thank you.
But we have limited computers, we have 12 computers. So if you don't have a laptop, you know, we'll try to give you a computer or maybe two of you can share one. But if you do have a laptop, just bring it so that you can do, you know.
Just
And
gonna teach
this,
you how to develop a Google business account, which will make it easier for you to be on Google Maps. And so, we didn't go into this all that much in the conversation today, but most people from a tourism perspective, when they're researching a destination, will start from their work laptop or computer and start destination searching. They'll make a decision, they'll book the room at home, they'll come to the destination with an iPad and their cell phone, and then they'll do more research on where they're going to shop and dine at the hotel on their iPad or tablet, and then when they're in market, they're using their cell phone, and so they're using the mapping function on their cell phone. And if your business doesn't pull up on their map, it's because you don't have a Google business account.
right, and the one that Kevin will be given a preliminary and great introduction, and then the next night, this is a Google grant that is People Incorporated applied for. So you know, between the information between the two, you should be able to get your business website out there and maybe be ahead of the curve. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.